Hey guys, we are ready to start reading the next part of our story, and here is our little friend down there. I hope you can see her. She's sleeping in the sun. Oh, look at her. She's just about ready to nod off. And I'll just pop her there. Oh, beautiful day. Right, Gangsta Granny. I actually started this earlier today, but my sister and my little nieces rang me, so I had to stop the recording and I haven't got back to it since then. But anyway, chapter 22, Lycra Lynch Mob. So as you remember, Ben had just been at the dance competition. He had totally bombed out and now everybody's after him, so he's got to get away quick. An angry mob of ballroom dancing enthusiasts chased the little brown car down the street. Looking out the back window, Ben thought this would perhaps be the only time in history a lynch mob was dressed entirely in lycra. Dad put his foot down on the accelerator. Vroom, vroom! And they turned a corner and lost them. Thank goodness I was there to give Flavio the kiss of life, said Mum from the front seat. He was just unconscious. He hadn't stopped breathing, Mum, said Ben from the back. You can't be too careful, said Mum, reapplying her lipstick. Most of it now was smeared over Flavia's face and neck. Your performance was, in a word, dreadful and embarrassing, pronounced Dad. That's 2 words, corrected Ben with a chuckle. 3 if you count the and. Don't get funny with me, young lad, snapped Dad. This is no laughing matter. I was ashamed of you. Ashamed. Yes, ashamed, grumbled Mum in agreement. Ben felt like he would give anything to disappear. He would give all of his past and all of his future just so he didn't have to be sitting in the back seat of his Mum and Dad's car right now. I'm sorry, Mum, said Ben. I want to make you proud, I really do. It was true, making his parents ashamed, well, that was the absolute last thing he wanted to do, however stupid he thought they were sometimes. Well, you have a funny way of showing it, said Mum. I just don't like dancing, that's all. That's not the point. Your mother spent hours making your costume, said Dad. It's strange how parents always refer to each other as mother or father rather than Mum or Dad when you're in trouble. You made no effort up there on the stage whatsoever, Dad continued. I don't think you even rehearsed once. Not once. Me and your mother worked night and day to give you the opportunities we never had, and this is how you treat us. With contempt, said Mum. Contempt, echoed Dad. A single tear ran down Ben's cheek. He caught it with his tongue. It tasted bitter. The 3 sat in silence as the car rumbled along. No words were spoken as they got out of the car and went into the house. As soon as Dad opened the front door, Ben bounded up to his room and slammed the door. He sat on his bed, still in his love bomb outfit. Ben had never felt more alone. He was hours late to meet Granny. Not only had he let down his Mum and Dad, he had let down the one person he had grown to love more than anyone, his Granny. They were never going to steal the crown jewels now. Just at that moment, there was a quiet tap on his window. It was Granny. Dressed in her scuba diving gear, the old lady had climbed a ladder to reach her grandson's bedroom window. Let me in, she mouthed theatrically. Ben couldn't help but smile. He opened the window and hauled the old lady inside, like a fisherman might haul a particularly big fish onto his boat. You are very late, admonished Granny, as Ben helped her over to the bed. I know, I'm sorry, said Ben. We said 7 o'clock. It's 10:30. The sleeping tonic I gave the guards at the tower will be wearing off soon. I'm really sorry. It's a long story, said Ben. Granny sat on Ben's bed and looked him up and down. And why are you dressed like a demented Valentine's card, she demanded. Oh, I said it's a long story. It was a bit rich for Granny to criticise what he had on, considering she was dressed in a wetsuit and scuba diving mask, but there wasn't time to get into that now. Quick, boy, put on this wetsuit and follow me down the ladder. I'll start up the mobility scooter. Are we really going to steal the crown jewels, Granny? Well, we're going to have to give it a go, said the old lady with a smile. Sorry, I'll read that again. Well, we are going to have a go, said the old lady with a smile. So now we're up to chapter 23. There were no pictures in that chapter. I think there's one coming up now, so I'll show you in a minute. Caught by the fuzz. They whirred through the town, Granny driving, Ben clinging on behind her, both in wetsuits and diving masks, with Granny's handbag wrapped in miles of cling film sitting in the basket at the front. Granny spotted Raj closing up his newsagent shop. "Hello, Raj. Dear, don't forget to save me some Murray mints for Monday," she shouted. Raj looked at the two of them, open-mouthed, in shock. I don't know what's got into him. He's normally so chatty. It was a long way to London, especially on a motorised scooter with the top speed of 3 miles per hour with 2 passengers. After a while, Ben noticed the roads getting wider and wider. 2 lanes, then 3 lanes. "Bums! We are on the motorway," shouted Ben from the back as 10-ton lorries whooshed past, nearly wrenching the scooter off the road with the force of their slipstream. And there is the picture. "You know, you really shouldn't swear, young man," said Granny. "Now, I'm going to step on it, so hold on tight." A moment later, a particularly big petrol tanker thundered by, inches from their heads, beeping its horn. "Big hairy bums," said Granny. "Granny," said Ben, shocked. "Whoops, that one just slipped out," said Granny. "Grown-ups never lead by example." "I'm sorry, Granny, but I'm not sure this thing is built for a motorway," said Ben. Just then, an even bigger lorry blustered past. Ben could feel the wheels of the scooter lift off the road for a second as the slipstream dragged it in the lorry's wake. "I'll take the next exit," said Granny, but before she could, flashing blue lights began to spin behind them. "Oh no, it's the fuzz. Let's see if I can outrun them." She slammed her foot on the accelerator and the scooter leapt from 3 miles per hour to 3.5 miles per hour. The police car drove alongside them and the officer inside gestured angrily for them to pull over. "Granny, you'd better pull over," said Ben. "We're done for." "Let me handle this, my boy." Granny stopped the mobility scooter on the hard shoulder as the police car parked in front of them, blocking any chance of escape. It was a big car and dwarfed the scooter like a very tall person dwarfs, well, a dwarf. "Is this your vehicle, madam?" said the police officer. He was fat and had a small moustache, which made his fat face look even fatter. He also had a smug expression on his face that suggested telling people off was his favourite thing in the world. Or maybe second favourite after donuts. His name tag said that he was called P.C. Fudge. "Is there a problem, officer?" said Granny innocently, her diving mask a little steamed up from all the excitement. "Yes, there is a problem. The use of motorised mobility scooters on motorways is strictly prohibited," said the police officer in a patronising tone. "Other modes of transport not permitted on the motorway are skateboard, canoe, roller skates, donkey, shopping trolley, unicycle, sledge, rickshaw, camel, magic carpet, comedy ostrich." "Well, thank you so much for pointing that out, officer. We'll remember for next time. Now, if you'll excuse us, we are running a little late. Goodbye," said Granny cheerily as she restarted the mobility scooter. "Have you been drinking, madam?" "I had some cabbage soup before I came out." "No, alcohol, I mean," he sighed. "I had a brandy liqueur chocolate on Tuesday night. Does that count?" Ben couldn't help but chuckle. P.C. Fudge's eyes narrowed. "Then would you care to explain to me why you were dressed in scuba diving gear with your handbag wrapped in cling film?" This was going to take some explaining. Because, Granny was stumbling over her words. They were done for. "Because we are the Cling Film Appreciation Society," said Ben with authority. "I've never heard of that," said P.C. Fudge dismissively. "We are very new," said Ben. Just 2 members so far, added Granny, continuing the lie, and we like to keep the society low-key, so we have our meetings underwater, hence the wetsuits. The policeman looked utterly baffled. Granny didn't stop talking, apparently in the hope that she might baffle him further. Now, if you'll excuse us, we are in rather a hurry. We have to get to London for an important meeting with the Bubble Wrap Appreciation Society. We are thinking of merging the two organisations. PC Fudge was all but lost for words. How many members have they got? Just one, said Granny. But if we join forces, we can save money on tea bags and photocopying and paper clips and the like. Goodbye. Granny put her foot on the accelerator and the mobility scooter lurched off. Stop right there, said PC Fudge, holding his podgy hand out straight in front of him. Ben froze in horror. He wasn't even 12 yet, and he was going to spend the rest of his life in jail. PC Fudge leaned over and put his face next to Granny's. I'll give you a lift. I think we'll read one more chapter. Chapter 24, Dark Waters. Just here, please, said Granny, directing from the back seat of the police car. Just opposite the tower. Thank you so much. PC Fudge strained as he unloaded the scooter out of his boot. Well, next time, please remember that mobility scooters are meant only for pavements, not main roads, and certainly not motorways. Oh, yes, officer, replied Granny with a smile. Well, good luck, you two, with the whole cling film bubble wrap alliance thing. And with that, PC Fudge sped off into the night, leaving Granny and Ben gazing at the magnificent 1,000-year-old Tower of London on the opposite bank of the river. It was particularly spectacular at night, its 4 domed towers lit up, its reflection shimmering on the cold, dark River Thames below. The tower was once a prison, with an illustrious list of former inmates, including the future Queen Elizabeth I, the adventurer Sir Walter Raleigh, the terrorist Guy Fawkes, and the senior Nazi Rudolf Hess Jedward. I lied about that last one, but I would like to see Jedward locked up forever in the Tower of London for crimes against music. Now, though the tower is a museum and home to the priceless crown jewels housed in their own special building, Jewel House, the unlikely pair of gangsters stood up at the riverbank. And there is another picture here. So there they are. I hope that you can see that there. The unlikely pair of gangsters stood up at the riverbank. Are you ready? Asked Granny, her mask completely steamed up from sitting in the back of the police car for over an hour. Yes, said Ben, trembling with excitement. I'm ready. Granny reached out to hold Ben's hand, and then she counted 3, 2, 1. And on 1 they leapt into the dark waters below. The water was freezing cold, even with the wetsuits on, and for a few moments all Ben could see was black. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. When their heads bobbed out of the water, Ben took the snorkel out of his mouth for a moment. Are you okay, Granny? I've never felt more alive. Then they doggy paddled across the river. Ben had never been a great swimmer and lagged behind a little. Secretly he wished he had brought his armbands, or at least a lilo. A huge party cruiser with music blaring and young people shouting chugged down the river. Granny had swum ahead, and Ben had lost sight of her. Oh no! Had she been crushed by the cruiser? Was Granny in a watery grave at the bottom of the Thames? Come on, slow coach, shouted Granny as the party boat passed and they caught sight of each other again. Ben sighed with relief and continued doggy paddling across the deep, dark, dirty water. According to the diagram in the Plumbing Weekly, the sewage pipe was situated just to the left of Traitor's Gate. This was an entrance to the tower only accessible from the river, where many prisoners would be taken to be locked up for the rest of their lives or beheaded. Nowadays, Traitor's Gate had been bricked up, so the pipe was the only way into the tower from the river. Then, with a rush of relief, Ben found the pipe. It was partly submerged under the water. It was dark and airy, and he could hear the echoes of lapping waves reverberating inside. Suddenly Ben began to have second thoughts about the whole adventure. As much as he liked plumbing, he didn't want to have to crawl up an ancient sewage pipe. "Come on, Ben," said Granny, as she bobbed up and down in the water. "We haven't come this far to give up now." Well, thought Ben, if a little old lady can do it, then I certainly can. Ben took a deep breath and propelled himself into the pipe. Granny followed close behind. It was blacker than black in there, and after he travelled a few metres, he could feel something crawling across his head. He heard an eek, eek noise, and he could sense something scratching his scalp. It felt like claws. He put his hand on his head. He touched something big and furry. Then he realised the awful truth. It was a rat! A giant rat was clinging to the top of his head. "Ah!" screamed Ben. Can you see that? Yes, Cece. She's excited about the story. Okay, right. We'll finish there, and I'll do some more tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, guys.